Hello friends, it's your favorite neighborhood nerd Simone. I'm here today to share two new pens with you that Benu kindly sent to me for a review. These are the new Benu Haute, and they are described as a new line of elegant, fashion-inspired pens that blend classic charm with bold, modern flair. The designs include both subtle and vibrant styles, showcasing Benu's signature glitter and color artistry. They have come out with 10 different styles, 5 each in the subtle and vibrant styles. And they are priced at between 210 and 230 US dollars. I just looked at their offering on the screen, and I'll put a screenshot on here. And it seems like all the ones with silver trim are 210 and all the ones with gold trim are 230. And so I think they made 5 in the subtle and 5 in the vibrant style. I picked one of each because I just wanted to have a look at them. And yeah, I want to show them to you. I want to dip test all 3 of them, write down all the measurements, and compare them to the other Benu pens that I have in my collection. And then tell you what I like and what I don't like about the pens after I've written a little bit about my first impressions of these pens. I think what I'm going to do is I measured them both, and there's just like small discrepancies that can be manufacturing discrepancies that are totally fine. So I'm just going to write down the measurements for one pen, then write about the first impression of the pen itself, and then maybe if I have some things to say about the different designs, I will do that after for each pen. So let's open them up, take a look, and see. So as usual with Benu, they come in these cardboard boxes. They are usually in these paper sturdy cardstock sleeves that I have already taken them out. And then there is some fluffy paper stuff so that it doesn't wobble around. There is a big, huge cartridge in here. And then the instructions for use, product information, and lifetime warranty. And that's basically how you get every single Benu pen. So I chose, of the vibrant styles, I chose the Allure. And if you've been following me for a while, you might know why, because I'm a sucker for all things blue and turquoise. I love the sparkle. To be honest, I'm already reviewing the pen. This is under the vibrant styles, but I think this is still very subtle if we compare it to many of the other Benu models that they offer. This is still not very, exuberant in the coloring and the shimmer and glitter that is included in this pen. What I like about this pen at first glance is that there is some opaque as well as some translucent parts. So I chose this with a medium nib. Because I really like the Schmidt nibs, I thought if I get a wider nib size, I could get them ground whenever I go to another pen show. And then I chose of the subtle pens, I just wanted to see this, what is it called? Satin finish. And interestingly enough, they both have the silver trim. All of the trim matches, so there's no gold and silver mixed with each other. That is not happening with these pens. There have been critiques previously, but I think because it's called Haute, oh my gosh, this is so hard to say, and because it's supposed to be very elegant and fashion inspired. They made sure that everything on this pen matches. And I think I'm gonna look at the gold colored ones, same thing. All of the trim colors are matching. I also requested, so this I was able to get in a broad nib. This nib is chunky and it kind of, either the shadow, I'm gonna look, we will dip test all of them and see if they actually write. There is, this is what it looks like taken apart. And then I was able to request a 1.1 stub nib, which is a Jowo nib compared to the other stock nibs that are on the pens that are Schmidt nibs. So we've got a lot of stuff to do. Let me put the things away so we can go ahead and look at this pen closer. It looks squared. When you look at it from far away, it actually doesn't look squared at all. It just looks like a regular normal pen. But when you touch it, you notice that there is 4 distinct sides to the pen that is squared. And then the corners of the square are cut off diagonally, kind of, so that it is an octagon. Maybe I can show this to you like so. I can also just put it on a piece of paper and show it to you when I'm writing or documenting this pen in my journal. Now, they look really lovely. This reminds me a lot of like Antler. Oh, wow. That is cool. This reminds me a lot of Antlers. That's what I imagine them to look like when they're polished and made into pens. Obviously, this would be a much more affordable version of such thing. But I really like how laid back this looks. It's just a little, there's a little chatoyance here. Let me see if I can show this to you well. Yeah, there you can see it, like so. Okay, so let me pull out the 2 other pens that I have from Benu, and then also bring out the pens that I usually compare most new pens to, which is a Sharpie. Nope, that's not a Sharpie, right here. Then usually I have a TWSBI here. Here we go. And here's my pen tray. So clearly the Haute is, both of those pens are the same size. Let's put those right here and here. And then we can gather the other items around. Here is a Benu Euphoria. So if we go with the end of the pen aligning with the end of my pen tray, which is handmade by my son and is not even. That's why I'm trying to give you, so that you're not getting a visual illusion by this being higher than this. So we are looking at the bottom that is aligning here, and then how far they stick out on top. This is the Benu Talisman, and it is visually smaller than the other 3 pens. Here we have a TWSBI Eco that is also shorter, same length, similar length as the Benu Talisman. This is a Lamy LX. It's the same size as a Lamy Safari. So again, it's shorter than the Euphoria and the Haute, and it is closer in size to the Benu Talisman. And then we have the Sharpie, which is the shortest of the bunch. But just as a comparison, if you have any of those pens at home, you will be able to better understand the sizing of these pens. Now let's post the pens and we'll figure out or see interesting things. So the TWSBI Eco comes with a smaller nib. I want to say number 5, but I actually don't think that's true. It might actually even be a number 4 nib. Then the Talisman posts securely, but just as with the TWSBI Eco, this is not something that I personally would post. And then the Haute posts as well. I tried it earlier, but it doesn't feel as secure as maybe, for instance, even the Talisman, which I'm surprised about because the Talisman, I thought previously wasn't a pen that posted securely, but this feels more secure. It comes off easily, but when it's on and you shake it, shouldn't flop around. I don't want to risk it and break it. Oops, sorry. That's not what I want to do. It is getting super dark outside. We might get a snowstorm in October. Yes. So it sits on here and it's friction fit, just like this one and this one, but it feels not good. Interestingly enough, again, I tried this earlier and was surprised. Let me turn on the light. Sorry. It is balanced. When it sits in the crook of my hand and I take my finger away, it doesn't tumble out of my hand, falls back over, or is heavy in the front, which if you kept the pen shouldn't happen. So that is interesting to me, but it's not something that I personally would prefer. But just to have the visual, let's put them here. And look how long it is compared to the other pens. Then the Sharpie, and what is also very interesting, the Sharpie posts quite deeply, so it's not really that long. All of these pens don't post very deeply, and I think that's something that I personally don't like about pens when they're posted. They need to post more deeply so that they're not making the pen extremely longer. I'm just going to leave this here as a comparison. Then the Euphoria posts, but this makes this pen kind of like a monster pen. It's even longer. Let's move this over here. Than the Haute, and you can see how crooked the cap sits on the back. I mean, it's also friction fit, but this is not something that I would enjoy. And let's try. It will pull the pen out of my hand and tumble over. So that is an interesting aspect about the Haute. It doesn't do that, even though it looks like it would. Then last pen posted. This one, compared to all the other ones, I feel like posts most secure and actually still sits in my hand, and it's the only one that I probably would post if I were to post a pen. But of all these pens, when I use them, I don't post any of them, except for possibly the Sharpie. So we've got that covered. So the posting is possible. It's not something that I personally would do. We've got the shape. Let's look at the finials really quickly because we haven't done that yet. And then all of these pens have number 6 nibs. These two do not, which does not make them worthless. I mean, this is a gold nib, so no. But it is something to consider when you're choosing pens or when you're observing your own writing experience. maybe it's interesting to figure out, do you prefer smaller nibs? Does it make a difference in the way that you experience your pens and your writing experience? So that is definitely something to point out, that all 4 of these pens have bigger nibs than these 2 that I compared them to. I usually just compare the TWSBI Eco as well as the Lamy Safari with all new pens, because a lot of people have these in their collection, and this will make this easier to understand the sizing of the pens. So finials. The finials are, well, very simple, very not laid back, very reduced. The only thing that you can see here is that shape of the pen, squared with rounded, it's not rounded off, but almost rounded off corners. And then the cap finial is just a circle that is kind of engraved into the cap, and the back is just plain, very plain, a little bit rounded off. It's not flat, but almost. Definitely not cylindrical, or no, that's not what it's called, conical, cigar shaped. That's maybe very reminiscent of a flat top pen, but it's smooth and rounded off, so it doesn't have any sharp edges here. All right, let's go and do some dip tests, and then we'll ink up the pens as well later on. You want this like that? All right. I usually dip all of my pens when I first acquire them. This is the measurements that I did earlier, into Waterman Serenity Blue. This gives me a good comparison. Obviously, dipping the pen into the ink is not the same as inking up the pen. So there might be issues with the feed and the flow from the converter or cartridge into the nib that you wouldn't really discover when you're just dipping your pen. And you would also not necessarily experience how wet it is, but what you can understand is how it compares to the other pens in your collection that you have dipped previously, if that makes sense. What I usually do is just dip it in. I kind of scratch off the excess ink, and then when I was at the San Francisco Pen Show, one of the nib meisters, nib technicians did this, so maybe some of the ink would go into the feed further down. And so ever since I saw this, I decided to do it too. Not sure if that is doing anything to the pen. So the one that I have here is the Allure. Oh wow, this is very promising already. It has a medium nib, steel, Schmidt nib. That's the information that I would want to know. So we have downstrokes, side strokes, upstrokes, backstrokes, and then figure eights. And it is a little bouncy, but not much. These are steel nibs. They're not super bouncy. You shouldn't push them all the way to the bottom, because then you're, now I lost the word. The 2 sides would flare open and never spring back. This is okay. It felt a little odd in the beginning, but I haven't flushed the pen previously. Maybe there's some oils in there. So I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt that nothing is wrong with this nib so far. Let's try the Satin with the chunky broad nib. Okay, did you hear this? Let's dip it again and see if that will help, but it definitely is kind of scratchy. This is a, okay, wow. This is a broad steel. This is more almost like a cursive italic Schmidt. And that is a very broad nib, like, ooh, wow. So when I'm going in, interesting. Let's pull out another piece of paper and just see what happens. Okay, so if I'm going, let's go slow. It feels and sounds like I'm almost picking up paper fibers when I'm going this way. And I'm just gonna touch this nib now to feel if I can feel it. Interesting. Let's dip it again. So upstrokes are super broad. Side strokes towards this side are okay. Maybe the tines are a little misaligned. Downstrokes are okay. And which way did we do? This way. Now they're okay, but let's see what happens if we go up. Yeah, it feels okay. So what happens if we This is all stuff that I often do when I'm trying out pens for the first time and there's a little bit of a weird feeling to it. I haven't had bad experiences with it. It's like just pushing down a little, maybe getting the tines, that's the word, to realign, because maybe they were just a tiny bit misaligned. Now it feels much better, and I think I would like keep it like that and have it and just see. So yeah, and then like, you know, pushing up on this tine individually and pushing up on that tine individually might help to get it to align a little better. And it feels much better right now. Definitely broad, definitely extremely broad. I don't remember these pens, these nibs to be this broad, but you know, if I want a grind on a nib, then this broad nib is definitely good to go. I haven't mentioned earlier that all of these pens come with converters included. And when you're purchasing the flex nibs as well as the stub nibs, they are not compatible with the other fine, medium, and broad nibs that Benu offers on their pens. So if you order one of these, I'm not sure if you can add an additional nib and pay more money for it so that you receive both. But if you wanted to swap out this nib, because whatever, you can only swap in a flex nib into this section, or you would need to purchase a separate section so that you can swap in a fine, medium, or broad nib. Or what you could do with this section though is, if the nib type or the brand of the nib didn't matter to you, you could swap in any of the JoWo nibs. Like Esterbrook nibs would fit into this housing. Let's see and demonstrate. The question is, where do I have an Esterbrook nib? Do I have one even to playing around loosely here. No, none of these is one. This one is a white bear. These are all Jowo nibs. I can just use any of them to demonstrate. I thought we'd be able to show you with an Esterbrook nib. But if I just use this one, then I can, in theory, screw it all the way down here. And then it's set here. Not sure who this nib, who the brand is that shares these nibs. I completely forgot. But that is something that you can do when you get a flex or 1.1 stub nib. You can swap in any Jowo nib into this section. However, you cannot swap the Schmidt nibs into these sections. Okay, let's try this one. So we're still with the satin. We are dipping. I am dipping, you are watching. The 1.1 stub nib in here. Ooh. Let's dip again. And if you're watching now and you're like, oh wow, it's not writing out of the box, I would not agree with you. This is just jump starts. I haven't flushed these nibs yet. Maybe I didn't get enough ink onto the nib to be able to write. So if I write the nib and go down to here and then it's still scratchy and it's still odd, then I would say that it didn't write well out of the box. I am so sorry. I'm not sure. Usually it autofocuses and right now it doesn't, and I'm not sure how to switch it right now. So this is a 1.1 stub. You can hear it again. Steel Jowo. Downstrokes, side strokes, upstrokes, side strokes, same thing. A little scratchy towards this side. The broad was scratchy towards this side. So let's do figure eights. And I'm again going to just check this a little bit more. So it's definitely, in my opinion, it's definitely not a out of the box amazing writing experience. However, it's also not an experience where I would say this nib is super trash. How could they send this out without quality control? Maybe the person who tested, I'm not sure if they test their nibs. That's something that I probably would have to ask my Benu contact. I would assume and hope that they test all the nibs that they sent out, but maybe their writing angle is just a little different than mine, and then they don't notice what I'm noticing, you know? Going really high up. It's okay. I'm going further down. Yeah, I think this is doable for now. I will report back if it's annoying or if it doesn't work well. For sure, I do hear a little bit of scratchiness. Let's see. Yeah. Let's touch it. Let's see how it feels. I feel like this tine is a little bit lower than the other one. I'm just gently pushing with my thumbnail against it to bring it all the way back. Now there's no more ink, obviously. I think that's okay too. Okay, so a little bit of finagling here. Not much, not not anything that I would call it's a trash nib. So I need to, which one do we use to write with? I think I'm going to write with the Allure to write all the measurements down. I did just to be able to compare, because my assumption is that there's a lot of things that are interchangeable between the different Benu pens. So I pulled out all the different measurements for the Euphoria and the Talisman. And then I also measured the Haute, and the Haute has a really nice length. We saw earlier that the Euphoria is a little bit more, a little longer. The Talisman is a little shorter. The Euphoria is a little heavier. The sections are almost identical. The Euphoria appears clunkier. In my first look video, I said klutzy, and that's definitely something that I feel. I like chunky things, and so this Benu Euphoria definitely appeals to me more than the Haute. My very first look at those, when I unboxed them, I didn't have a really good day at all, and it was something that I was like, oh wow, this is too narrow, too skinny, but it's not. I don't think it is. I looked at them more closely, as I said earlier the other day, and I'm actually really liking how they look. They're just, this Haute is just in the middle between the Benu Euphoria and the Talisman in all the things. I'm gonna mention them when I'm writing. So we have length, capped, I always forget the capped, 14.5 centimeters, and then uncapped, 13.6. In comparison, the Talisman is 13.8, 13.1 centimeters, so just below, and the Benu Euphoria is 14.8 centimeters and 13.8 centimeters. So it's like just a tiny smidge bigger. It's definitely, as I showed you earlier, it's wider. The weight, oh, shoot, I forgot something. The post-it. Now we'll just squeeze it in here. Post-it length is 17.8 centimeters. And then does it postable? Yes. And I wrote, but meh, it's not something that I would do, but it is doable. The weight capped is 25 grams. In comparison, the Talisman is 21, the Benu Euphoria is 27, and obviously the cap of the Benu Euphoria is heavier because the weight uncapped is the same, and that is 15 grams. For the Euphoria and 13 grams for the Talisman. And then we have the diameter of the grip section. The narrowest part is down here, 9.85 millimeters. And diameter, the widest part is 10.89 millimeters. The section length, which is what I consider until you have the threads from here to here is what I consider the section length. This is where you would hold your pen. It is 2.2 centimeters. And then the cap rotation, which is interesting in my opinion, is 2.25-ish. It's a little less, a little more. It's a little less on the Allure. It's a little more. It's a little less than 2.25 on the Allure, and it's right at 2.25 for the Satin. 2.5-ish cap rotations. And that is less than the Euphoria and the Talisman because they both have 2.5 cap rotations. And you can see that too on the threads here. There's more here than there are on the Haute. Let me see if I can focus on that. Maybe the brown one is better for that to see because it's less busy here. So that's that to me is an interesting observation. So now they're going in the other direction. I have heard from people that the Daily Mate has made their cap rotations better. Those were like 7 or so. That was like a complete overkill in my opinion. And they listened to feedback and changed that. So let me write about the pens. I will tell you and read to you what I'm writing, and then I'm gonna clean them out and make them, fill them, ink them up. When I saw the pens at first, I was not impressed. They looked skinny. But the more I gave them a chance, the more I like them. The shape feels very pleasant in the hand. The grip section is the same as the Euphoria and Talisman, and the more sophisticated look with the silver cap band as well as the ring separating the body and section make it seem elegant. The Allure is a little too subtle in my opinion. It's supposed to be vibrant, but it's actually very tame compared to the other pens Benu offers. Unfortunately, all the nibs felt a little scratchy on first dip, so I want to keep an eye on that. So one thing I didn't write down is my hesitation about the price of these pens. If I compare these pens to the Euphoria and the Talisman, which are both priced at between 157 and 162 on the Benu website for no, not the hand painted or any special edition or anything, just the regular standard models. Then I'm wondering what makes this pen more, like almost $60 more expensive, between 50 and yeah, $80 more expensive. Is it the 2 metal rings right here that are on those pens and not on these? Yes, I can see that these look more finished because of those rings, these bands. I also see that, with the writing, the Benu on the cap here, it does look better, maybe. Haute, modern, better than if it's sideways. I can see all of these things. I can't really read the Benu on here, but I can actually, it's visible on here. So there is stuff that makes it look more, but also that's stuff that I would expect to receive from these pens as well. I would like to be able to read the Benu debossing on this pen better than I can. So I'm not sure if I should be paying more for something that is normal or standard, in my opinion. And I would like to hear your thoughts on these pens. Did you buy one already? Did you receive one for review? What are your thoughts on these pens? Because actually the only thing that is really like holding me back and telling you, yes, go get this one and not any of these is the price of these pens. That is something that I'm not really sure if that's what I would like. If I would choose the Haute over the Euphoria or the Talisman, if I were to pick again. Yeah, that is, again, please don't understand me wrong. The pens are lovely. I like them. I don't know if the price is justified. Okay, that is all that I have to say about these pens. I'm really looking forward to inking them up. I know I promised the inking in the beginning of the video. I think it's time to let go. I'm gonna do that and share those in another snippets video at a later date. And then I'll see you again soon. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope all the information that you wanted out of a look and first impressions of a pen was there. I will definitely report back with my experience. I don't see any negative things coming up because I know the steel nibs. I know that I like the grip sections from the Talisman and the Euphoria, and so I'm not really looking or thinking that there would be anything negative. Alrighty, thank you so much. I hope to see you again soon. Until next time, bye.